Welcome to Enjoying. I'm Aaron, and this is my host and brother, Ben.
Good evening.
Good evening. This show is about food. It's not about cooking food. It's just about eating and enjoy eating. So, let's get to it. So, Ben, what do we have today?
Well, you're going to have to tell us about the wine, but basically we just have very simple ribeye, seared in a pan and then finished in the oven, some broccoli, a little bit of mushrooms and green onions with sauce, and a roasty potato, which is more or less a fancy hash brown. So, let's see what we think of that.
Well, let us see. Now, for our wines, I have a French Bordeaux and a Spanish Tempranillo. I believe that I chose poorly with the Spanish one.
Valdepeñas, this is the one in the weird glass. I mean the nice glass.
Yeah. I don't know. But this is what we're looking at is, for the most part, when we sit down to eat, you're just kind of shoving things in your mouth, having conversation. And we're not
That's basically
really...
what we've been doing.
Which is what we've been doing up to this point.
Enjoying.
So, but that's not enjoying eating, that's just consuming. To enjoy eating, you have to think about, and not in any kind of pretentious way, but just in the way in which we're combining the foods and our wine, to really kind of, there isn't an answer, but to maximize what each of these ingredients have brought to the table. I completely made that up.
And I like the word maximize. Is maximizing. It may seem quite mathematical, but it's maximizing to your own personal taste. So,
Exactly.
I may like the roasty with the beef, and you may like to do it separately.
Exactly.
We're not going to be able to come to
There is no answer.
a conclusion.
It's the exercise, though, and it's the consideration. So,
But I think that's interesting because we do just sit down. When we sit down to eat, we're generally so damn hungry that we don't have the patience to stop and say, all right, how am I going to put this all together? So, I mean, how do you even get to the table in the right frame of mind to do that?
well, I think that unfortunately it's like all things. You have to be conscious of what you're doing.
Demonstrate patience when you don't have any.
Well, you have to think about what you're doing. I mean, unfortunately, eating is one of those things. It's like breathing. We don't think about it. You should see our show on breathing. It's not exciting. Although I don't recommend the smog. Now, one of the ideas that we like to explore here on Enjoy is the ideas of food combination. So, beyond the small logic of that's what we had, why do people so traditionally kind of combine a potato and a steak? Some people like mushrooms, some people like it all together.
It's an interesting question. I hadn't thought about that. Probably just the starch and the protein going together. That's fairly traditional in most cultures, I would think.
I mean, just as a for instance, the Spanish wine is very fruity. It's not as ill combined, ill suited as I initially thought. But the question then is, besides why am I drinking 2 bottles of wine at 4 in the afternoon? It's art. The answer is, does it make more sense? And I particularly like this question with drink, although it really pertains to all things, which is the order in which we eat. If you take the really strong stuff first, maybe it's overwhelming the weaker flavored things. If I'm just combining this all into a puree, What have I lost? What have I gained? Maybe it's delicious. But does it make sense to use water to clear my palate? Or do I want to load up my mouth with some of this wine and then see what that does with the meat? That's where it gets interesting.
Mm.